Hello, I'm Sarah Ewan from catchptsd.com. And today in this podcast, we're just going to talk a little bit about ego parts. Now, you might not know what an ego part is, but if you're suffering from PTSD, you've probably been living with one or many for quite some time. And what we term ego parts in psychiatry and psychology and hypnotherapy is when something happens to you in life, which is really quite overwhelming at whatever stage in life it is, but especially when you're quite small with no resources, a part of you takes on the responsibility for dealing with whatever pain, whatever upset, whatever anger that you felt at that particular time. So you might imagine it, if you're small, like a kind of imaginary friend moves in next to you and says, okay, I'll take that. Give me all that pain. Give me all that upset. I'll look after that. And then you're able to go forward in life, even if some really awful things have happened to you. And as you get older, these parts stay inside of you, and either other things happen and that part gets bigger and bigger and bigger in its responsibility to take care of you, to harbour all your upset or your pain, or you end up with multiple parts of different ages. So if something happened to you when you were 1 or 2, then you'll have a part of that age. But then if something happens again when you're 8 or 9, you might develop a part that's stuck at that age. At the 8 or 9, maybe feel bullied in school or your parents leave or something. And as you go forward in life, these parts become more and more entrenched inside your body. And I always imagine it a bit like when something happens, someone takes a Polaroid image of that moment, of how you feel, of the expressions on your face. And then that Polaroid image is kind of stuffed inside a cupboard with an emotion attached to the bottom of it. And it's fine as you're going through life if you're able to shut that cupboard and keep it well shut against anything that happened in the past and just live in the present or plan for the future. But if you imagine if many, many things have happened to you, and you've either developed this one huge part or lots of different parts, and they're all stuffed inside that cupboard, it starts to get a bit crowded. And whenever something happens in your life to trigger a memory that your body remembers, that those parts remember, even if you don't, of something that happened, then those parts can feel like they want to come out of that cupboard. They want to come up. They want to explain to you, this, remember this. But generally, the problem is you don't remember, because the very process of stuffing those memories into that cupboard mean that they're inaccessible to you. And you don't have those memories anymore to make sense of why you're feeling a certain way. And I think as we get older, especially as we get into our 20s, 30s, 40s, the amount of emotions and Polaroid images that we have in that cupboard are growing exponentially. And you'll come to a point where the cupboard can't hold them anymore. There's too much emotion, too many feelings, too much hurt, too much anger inside that cupboard. And it just bursts open. And that's when PTSD is really taking hold. When all those emotions, all those feelings, everything you've ever felt, everything you've ever experienced kind of comes over you all at once. And suddenly you're experiencing not just a touch of anxiety or not just a touch of depression that you can get past, but you're experiencing a lifetime's worth of depression, a lifetime's worth of anxiety, a lifetime's worth of anger, and everything just feels completely out of control. And if you think about those parts as imaginary friends, and you think about they came in to help you, to protect you, and they get moved in alongside you to take all that pain from you, and then you've moved on through life and stuffed them in the cupboard. It's not much of an existence for them. And not only have you stuffed them in the cupboard, but either you personally don't want to remember what happened, or your body's decided that you don't need to remember what happened and just shove them in the cupboard. But whoever put them in there and why, you've now got a part of you that's quite resentful and is quite upset about being ignored, and that its feelings are not validated. And that even when you're having conversations with people and they say to you, oh, must have been really difficult, for you when you were 3 or 4, and you're like, oh no, it was fine. I got through it. I survived. And imagine that part listening to you say that, and listening to you pretending that it was fine and that there was no real issues. And so this is when PTSD becomes a real problem. This is when you no longer have control of your own emotions and your own thoughts and your own actions. And it's what psychiatrists, psychologists, hypnotherapists call executive control. So it is possible that you'll just be walking along the street and you'll see something that triggers one of those parts in the cupboard. And it's like a hold my coat, hold my beer moment, where that part just comes out, shoots up inside of you, shoots right up into your head and behaves in a certain way, says certain things, feels certain things that are not useful to you. And that might go on for an hour or a day or a week. And you don't have control over it. As Freud said, you're not the master in your own house. You're not riding your own horse. Because for that moment in time, that part of you that's been stuffed inside of you for so long is in control. And you'll fight to push it back down again because you can see the impact it's having on everyone around you. And you'll push it down as far as you possibly can and shove it back into its cupboard and hopefully get those doors closed. But for how long? And so what hypnotherapy does, it's a bit like a submarine therapy. Those parts are right down deep inside of you, like so deep that you don't even know half of them are there, if any. And what hypnotherapy does is, through deep relaxation, allows you to go into a state of such deep relaxation that those parts become obvious to you. That they come out and talk to you. They'll show you something, like in a dream. They'll show you a memory that you haven't had up to this point. Or they'll say something to you, or you'll feel something while you're in the hypnotherapy, which is a dreamlike state, a sleep state. And the information will suddenly make sense. And you'll realize why you really get angry in those circumstances, but you never understood it before, let alone your poor wife and family or your husband and family who didn't understand it. And over a few sessions of hypnosis, all these things will become obvious to you. And bear in mind that the ego parts want out of the cupboard. They want to talk to you. The symptoms that you're feeling are like flags, like neon signs saying, please come down here. I'm anxious, I'm nervous, I'm upset. So now you're anxious and nervous and upset. That's how it feels. Come and talk to me. The one dichotomy of ego parts is that while they want you to come down and talk to them and to listen, and maybe this sometimes comes through in your dreams or your daydreams, or maybe you have an internal voice that talks to you all the time. While they want the communication, they're also very scared that if you were to find out exactly how much emotion you felt at that time, that it might destabilize you. So you end up in a kind of seesaw where you want to go down, the part wants you to come down, but the part actually doesn't want you to come down, because then what happens next? What happens afterwards if all that emotion is suddenly let out? Will you just end up like a puddle on the floor? And that's one of the reasons that we keep pushing everything down, because we're not sure what happens on the other side if it all comes out. I think the thing with hypnotherapy is it's a bit like draining a swimming pool. You can either splash all that water out of the pool, or you can just open a drain. And through the use of progressive relaxation, through the use of completely relaxing your body, all that emotion, all that anger, all that upset can just drain through that valve out of that pool. And my clients say, over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4 sessions, you just feel so much lighter. It's like all of the worries and the troubles they were carrying are just slowly melting away. And what more could we ask for than that?